Hey, I'm Kevin with the Comics Crowd. I'm here with Amanda Rachels, my partner in all things for 20 years or so now.
God, we're old.
We're getting old. But we've been making comics together for most of that time now, which is hard to believe, for about 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So about 10 months ago, I took up this project that I call the Comics Crowd to look at every single comics Kickstarter launched every day of the year. And I have adhered to that pledge since August of 2024. How do you feel about that?
I've seen so many of these comics over your shoulder as we work in the same office. And it is an intense process.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I did this to myself, but I'm gonna tough it out for at least 2 more months and get a full year in. But we wanted to add some commentary to the Comics Crowd rather than just have the text-based Substack, which I'm very proud of. You can find it at thecomicscrowd.substack.com. I post almost every day there. Some days I miss if we're traveling, if I get busy, if there's something else that's going on. But I post almost every day there. So you can find those columns there every day. It's not just a list of comics that are launching those days, but also I pick the best ones. I call them comics I like. That's very complicated and obtuse, I know. But in addition to that, I offer some commentary on trends that I see, on problems that I see, and make recommendations for fixing those problems.
I just stew about it.
Well, today we're going to jump back and look at the past week or so of launches and talk about what we've seen. I'm going to give you some of the facts, and you're going to give me some opinions.
Okay.
Sound good?
I'm very opinionated.
I realize that. That's why you're doing this with me. So we're looking at launches from roughly June 5th to June 12th, not exclusively those, but that's about a week's worth of launches. We're recording this on the 14th. And I don't have all of the data together for the last couple of days already. So I want to look back at things that we have solid information for and that we can give solid reactions to. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's just talk in general about what's been going on in Comics Kickstarter during that time. A little before the 5th, I don't recall the exact date, I came across a trio of launches on one single day by one creator using 3 different accounts. And these are all what we call not safe for work comics, which are
Titty books.
titty books. Yes, porn cover mills, porn comics, whatever you want to call them. They run, anywhere from 3 to 12, 15 covers with nude and clothed options. That's not really a problem. The problem I have in this case is that this person launched 3 projects on the same day. They all looked about the same. The art style was the same. The reward structures were the same. It was obviously the same account holder for all 3 accounts because they just changed one word.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into who they are on this audio podcast or on YouTube, but you can go back to thecomicscrowd.substack.com and track it down if you want to. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, keep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So that is just somebody taking advantage of Kickstarter and the rules of Kickstarter. When several years ago, there's no way Kickstarter would have greenlit 3 projects from the same creator on the same day. So they're skirting the rules.
Yeah, there's just an unsavory element there, least of all for tax purposes. But then how's Kickstarter policing this, with socials and EINs and businesses and things like that?
They're clearly not policing it because it's easy to see. If I saw it, it's not my job to do this. I do drone photography during the day. I make comics at night. And then I have this gig that I inflicted on myself, checking out all the Kickstarter comics every day. If I have time to do this, Kickstarter staff should have time to see that this is coming through as well. And they used to do this. There were times when we couldn't get a project approved, and this has been years ago, because they felt like we had launched too recently. Now that's out the window, but that hasn't happened for us in a long time. But we are reliable fulfillers. When we get a project done, we fulfill it. You ship it. I handle the Kickstarter side of things. It gets done 100% of the time for 15 years and over 80 projects. It gets done. But for this person, I decided to do a little online investigating, which means just clicking on their old projects. And going back to March of this year, March of 25, we're in June now. They had launched 12 campaigns, 5 in April. How many of those do you think were fulfilled? 0.
Yeah.
There have been some digital fulfillment, but as far as physical fulfillment, 0% fulfillment. 12 campaigns in 3 months.
And that's going through Kickstarter's update system, right?
Looking at the updates, all you have to do now, they have actually a creator tab on every campaign page, and you click on that, it shows all their campaigns going back, and you can go look at all of ours in that same way on any of our Kickstarter pages. So when you go back and look at this, you can see the month they were launched in, and all you do is click on it and check their updates. And about a quarter of these campaigns this person had launched since March had no updates at all.
Oh.
Others said, we're working on colors, or we're working on inks, or we're working on letters, or this or that, and we'll get the PDFs to you soon. Like I said, I think a couple of them did have PDFs. I'm speaking off of memory now. But either way, nobody had gotten a physical book on any of these 12 campaigns. And so this set the stage for another creator that I came across during this June 5th to June 12th week that we're talking about, who I pointed out to you back in October or November, who was launching at least one campaign a month. This is also a porn cover mill creator, launching just nude covers after nude covers after nude covers with no attention to story, no attention to the interior artwork. And this person hadn't fulfilled a campaign in a year, in a calendar year. So they launched another one last week. So I go back and it's just the same process I explained to you just now. I just go back and look at their campaigns, and it's the same pattern. They've done some digital fulfillment over that time, but for the past few months, nothing. And it's not just a problem of not fulfilling ultimately, because it seems like ultimately people do get their product, but they're months behind on their own promised deadlines, and they continue to launch campaign after campaign after campaign. And in both cases, you're talking 6 figures of funding that has not been fulfilled.
Ooh.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars that have not been fulfilled. It's a problem.
That would give me an ulcer.
It would worry us to death trying to hold ourselves accountable and to be concerned about our reputation with the backers that trust us with their pledges.
Well, when it seems like they're not doing updates at all, I don't feel like there's good bookkeeping or good record keeping involved in this, and they're going to lose their backer report after a certain amount of time on there and just not have access to it at all. So even if they wanted to fulfill it later, what are they going to do?
A lot of them though were using BackerKit or something like that, so they've transferred that data over so they can keep it longer.
Gotcha.
And honestly, all you have to do is ask for permission from Kickstarter. You can get that information back. It's not as dire as Kickstarter makes it out to be if you don't get that information within, 12 months? I think it's like a year. But
I'm such a rule follower. I mean, I have like the fear of God when it says you only have this amount of time.
Right.
So everything goes out the freaking door. And I get mad. Can you cuss on here?
yeah.
Okay, well, I might. But no, I get real aggravated when I am busting my butt every campaign just to get everything out the door. And sometimes it's very large and a lot of backers that I have to like do work on each book and then ship the book. You know, it varies. But that part is just as important as getting paid.
Right.
And as a backer, I'm pretty salty. I back very, very, very few things because up until like a few years ago, I backed a lot of campaigns and I'd gotten like three rewards off of, you know, maybe like 50, 60. So I back small, or if I want to put my follow behind something,
right.
you know, that sort of thing, I'll do that. But Typically, I back Kickstarter not expecting to ever see anything. It's mostly just a goodwill thing. Unless I actually know the person or know their reputation. I backed a project in March. I think it was March earlier. It was for dice, really cool looking dice, and they were custom, that sort of thing. And I had them like a month after that Kickstarter ended. I was so impressed, and I was like, I've never had this happen to me. That wasn't, something
Right.
I did, or like, one of our friends, like Martin Vieira.
Yeah. Always right on top of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people bitching on about the corporate campaigns, but I'll just cite one for you. Skybound ran the biggest comics Kickstarter ever last year for the G.I. Joe compendium, that 4-issue monster that we've got on the shelf
It's sitting
over
right
here.
over there. It takes up
Weighs
the whole
about
damn shelf.
45 pounds, and it's a beauty.
It's
Came in
beautiful,
on
yeah.
time, perfect. Way exceeded expectations, at least mine. It's just a beautiful product.
Yeah, that's an incredible thing.
It's such a shelf decoration as much as an actual set of books. And that's not where the problem lies. The problem lies with people like this who are chasing the money,
Right.
who are just adding to their bank accounts rather than actually prioritizing the backers. And it's ruining the reputation of other Kickstarter creators like us.
That's absolutely true.
And we're all seeing diminished funding gradually over time for the past 3 years or so. And this is just one of the culprits that I've seen, and it just bears calling out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I sometimes post about it too much, but it bears calling out. People need to know that this is going on, and they need to know who's doing it. I'm not going to say it here, but you can go back to thecomicscrowd.substack.com, look at my post, and you can track that down. That's not for me to say. I'm not trying to dox anybody or unleash the hounds on anybody. But just be aware that these people are out there, that they're exploiting backers, that they're exploiting the not safe for work buying community, and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And Kickstarter is the only entity that can stop it. I have no power over this except to point it out and move on.
Funny, I have a bone to pick on NSFW. Ha ha ha.
Go for it.
But I don't know. It gets so boring. I mean, you posted one of the articles this week. What was it called?
Was it the prioritizing story and art article for Not Safe for Work?
Possibly. Yeah. I blur. It's like I'm an artist, so my train of thought is usually going. But it was the one about the Vegas.
Oh, you're talking about Private Dance Las Vegas from Cheeky,
Right.
That's Wise Guys, which is one of Pat Shan's outfits.
And I was looking at that one, and I was like, I'm interested in this one. This one's kind of neat. It's got kind of a story to it, and I don't mind NSFW stuff. I like it. I mean, I'm grown, and yeah, it's like I want some drama. I don't mind titties in my books, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I want humor, or I want a story. I want there to be something to follow.
Characters with personalities,
Yeah.
characters with arcs, stories with narrative.
Yeah, and that's just not in this stuff. So it's like, why bother calling it a comic? Just make art books.
There is a contingent of NSFW creators on Kickstarter that do it. Pat is at the spearhead of that. They put out quite a few books. To their credit, they put out a spreadsheet link on their campaigns where you can see the fulfillment status of all those books. So that's transparent accountability that almost nobody else on Kickstarter does.
I'm like super impressed by stuff like that.
It's remarkable. And they make books with stories. And they make some books that aren't not safe for work. They make some other, Pat makes other books.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. I'll tell you, we had planned to talk about comics that that were our favorites that were launched during that June 5th to June 12th window. And one of the ones I was going to point out, and check my note here to make sure I get the title right, was a Not Safe for Work title called Beauty Number 2, The Flowers of Imperial Grace. Now let me tell you why I like that book. It had one creator. She does everything. She draws it, she inks it, she colors it, she letters it, she writes it.
That was painted, right?
No.
Okay.
It looks like it was probably digitally created, just like most modern comics.
Yeah.
But it is a beautiful book, and it is very sexually explicit. I mean, she has to blackbar a lot of what the interior pages show. However, there's an artistry to what she's creating that I'll use the word legitimizes what she's doing as art, as a story, as a comic. And there are new cover options, but there's just a few. And I don't begrudge anybody taking advantage of the backer appetite for variant covers.
Yeah.
But for this single creator who's doing all this herself, I can't imagine doing everything myself. And I know you've done it on projects before, on short stories and things, but I can't imagine doing every step myself and how much time that must take every day to not only get it right, but make it awesome like this book.
I wonder how long it took her.
She said 3 to 4 months, I think, if I remember correctly from what she said on her Kickstarter page. She was very transparent about the fact that I do all this by myself.
Yeah.
It's not going to get to you next month, but it'll get to you by the date that I've set and the rewards.
Right.
And I don't recall that is, but you can check that out in the post. I highly recommend that one. The artist's name was Fang Fang.
Hey, babe.
Literally Fang plus Fang. And just looked like a great story. I think your favorite one that you mentioned to me from that time period was also Not Safe for Work.
Yeah, I actually did like the, what was
Private Dance Las
Private
Vegas.
Dance. Yeah, I can't keep a name in my head right now.
I think that's at least the second in the series that I'm aware of. It was because he did a few issues with what he called Private Dance Down South, I believe, which I think was in our neck of the woods in Alabama somewhere. I think Birmingham was where it was set, or Huntsville. I can't remember.
Oh, Lord.
So, yeah. So,
I thought a couple of them were nice to look at. Like Battle Pug was cute.
yeah. Our buddy Martin Pierre of Cosmic Times launched, and it's almost funded. Let me make sure I get the title right. Arthur, the Legend Continues.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to mess that up. So if you just go to Kickstarter, put in the search field Arthur, the Legend, that'll pop up because it's currently live, and it's live for another couple of weeks. It just launched a couple of days ago. Already close to 80% funding the last time I checked. Awesome 6-issue series. Half of those books featuring the art of our friend and collaborator Carlos Tron,
Yeah.
and the coloring of our frequent collaborator and your colorist that's been working with you for a few years now, Elavon Ortiz. So,
She's so good.
so good.
So,
It's
it's a good looking book.
awesome
and
book.
You're going to get that book.
You would definitely receive that book as promised. It's six issues and a box to get the whole set. So that's a lot of content.
He makes a nice box. I was just looking at some of the collector
I get
boxes that we
jealous.
have on our
I get jealous
shelf.
of Martin's boxes. We make some great boxes, but Martin just outclasses me every time. I think he does such a great job designing those boxes. Super proud of that campaign, and happy to see it charging through the funds so quickly.
That's awesome. What's his goal again?
2,000. I think the last time I looked, he was pushing 1,600
Nice.
earlier today.
Go Arthur.
Go. Speaking of which, we just ended our most recent campaign Sunday before last for Chainsaw Nose Job, a book I wrote and was fully illustrated, much to my delight, by our friend Oscar Pinto. It's just a gorgeous book. He's done a lot of work with us since then that we'll be collecting into a book in just a few months for Vicious Circus Halloween. But we've got that. I'll show it for the YouTube viewers. They're here. The soft covers arrived. The hard covers will arrive, I hope, by the end of this week, maybe the beginning of the following week. But we're only, 13 days removed from the end of the campaign. No, just 6 days removed from the end of the campaign. Yeah. And
They got here the middle of the week. What, Wednesday, right?
hey, they turn those books around fast. I was impressed with the printer. And the print job looks good. This one's a little gnawed up because of my daughter's reading copy. But yeah, super proud of it and love for you to check it out. It's still in late pledge stage on Kickstarter. So that's, again, Chainsaw Nose Job if you're interested.
I love that book. I know I'm biased, but it's a good book.
Yeah.
And the art is gorgeous. And I helped design that cover.
You did. If there's a cover or a character, pretty much you were the one who helped get it together in the design phase for what we do. So before we jump off here, I want to say a quick thank you for the 309 subscribers I have on Substack today. I started with 0 back in August of 2024, and fits and spurts and a lot of work and a lot of communicating and a lot of posts. I think I'm at 310 or 312 post on Substack at this point.
There you go.
I seem to get about one backer for every one of those. So, but the 300 is a milestone I wasn't sure I would make. Sometimes you start a new social media project and it just flounders or it just sits at a few followers, but this one has consistently grown. I get really good feedback on it. I get really good interaction from other comic creators in particular who feel the same way we do about these things and who have the same stakes that we do, who are trying to make comics, who want to do it the right way, and who are frustrated by the state of things at Kickstarter in terms of the domination of not safe for work comics and the way they seem to get away with murder when it comes to the rules.
Oh yeah, because they bring in the money. But
and that's great for everybody.
yeah, it is.
But that's not the problem.
But yeah, and it's things that we're not just griping to gripe, because there are really clear results that I've heard from many people who try to go shop on Kickstarter, and it makes people uncomfortable. It's like my mother used to back all of the campaigns, and now she has me do it for her. She's like, please buy your book for me, because it's hard for her to navigate, but I also don't want my mom looking at somebody's behind, do the goatsy thing going on there.
The spread eagle, black bar images that are often the cover images for Kickstarter pages that are right next to people that are putting out biographical comics or kids comics. It's not only distracting or inappropriate for some viewers or readers, it's also offensive to some people.
Yeah,
it's not offensive to us, but it is offensive to some people, and that diminishes the audience that all of us have.
Yeah.
And I've said it, I've beat it to death, but the simple solution is to set up a not safe for work subcategory under comics, and all you have to do is search on that category, and there they all are.
Yeah. Or even, beyond that, I do not know the logistics of this as far as web design and things like that, but even doing, an opt-in, opt-out type thing if something's in SF, or if it's like 18 plus or whatever.
It would be
something like that. That's probably too hard, but,
Yeah. I think they want everything to be visible to everybody.
Right.
But if you can select how visible it is to you and that you can exclude it by selecting a category that does not include the not safe for work comics. But if you wanted to go look at them, you could.
It's just like fine-tuning categories within it that I think would make a big difference for buyers and creators that may or may not be in that genre. It's like I personally like that genre.
We've talked about possibly producing a book in that genre. But we would take care to not make things offensive on the surface level, including the Kickstarter cover image or the imagery that you would see in the Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
Because that's where the problems arise. When it goes too far, when it's off-putting to potential backers, not just for you, you have to think about the rest of the Kickstarter creator community. We're all indie creators trying to make it here. But also prevent it from being offensive to backers of other people's campaigns that are not safe for work.
Yeah.
Those having to say not safe for work. Safe for work just doesn't get the job done in that situation. So you have to say not safe for work.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but if you just say safe for work, it sounds a little blah. It doesn't seem to convey the same weight. So
we could always go spicy and bland.
True, but that just makes me hungry. Any other thoughts on this?
I appreciate your Substack articles because they articulate a lot of these arguments or observations and give a nice little platform to talk with other people that understand what you're screaming into the void about.
Yeah, and a lot of the not safe for work creators who are doing the real work and making real comics and not just chasing cover money tend to agree with the recommendations because they know it's not going to hurt their funding, but it may help the overall platform draw more funding.
Right.
And I promise we're not going to talk about not safe for work stuff every week. It comes up a lot in the Substack post because it's ubiquitous. It's there all the time. They the not safe for work projects consume about 15 to 20% of the launches every month, but they consume 40 to 50% of the money every month of the funding. That's a huge chunk of Kickstarter comics occupied by one genre. And it's hard to miss. It's hard to miss. It's hard to not talk about it.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got people launching 3 not safe for work projects on the same day. It's not cool.
Yeah.
And work as a community and think of your fellow creator. I know that's hard to do when you're raking in $100,000 that you don't care about fulfilling, but think of your fellow creators.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Thank you for
Entertainment
clarifying that.
purposes only, huh?
Thank you for interjecting that. So with that, I think we can wrap it up, and we will come back next week and try to find a topic that's not safe for work information.
It's kind of hard. I mean, I get the appeal.
Well, we can talk about another hot button issue and talk about corporate comics. Maybe something will launch this week, and that inflames rage and oddly creators who also already make a ton of money on Kickstarter. We'll talk about that another time.
Well, data, not feelings.
Correct.
But it's okay. And corporate comics, I see a couple of them sitting here, and they pretty.
Hey, the ones that we've backed fulfill quickly, fulfill high quality.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, have a great week, and we'll be back soon.